one of my children asked me to talk about and record the way my wife and I met. It's a beautiful love story. In 1985, I was invited to a wedding. The wedding was between my friend from college, Judy Delinko, and her fiance, Bob Epstein, also someone I knew from college. I was part of a big group of friends who were somewhat connected to the rugby crowd, somewhat connected to, I don't know, a partying crowd. And I knew Judy and Bob. I wasn't very close to them, but I knew them. Anyway, in 1985, November of 1985, Judy and Bob got married, and they had a wedding that was pretty large. They had about 300 people at the wedding, and I was, I guess, somewhere around number 295. I was lucky to be invited to the wedding because I wasn't that close to either one of them, though I knew them, and they were more than acquaintances, but not close friends. Anyway, at the wedding, I noticed this beautiful bridesmaid. I had seen her before at some parties Judy had. Judy had a country house in western New Jersey, and I had been to that country house with a lot of our friends, where we spent a weekend at least once and went fishing and did a lot of partying and played music and such. And this beautiful young woman was at the country house, and I had noticed her there, but she was sort of shy, and she seemed to me to be a little bit aloof. And she stayed away from the other people, and she would sun herself on the deck there, and she was just beautiful. I remember thinking that. Even though I'm pretty garrulous and talkative, have always been a little bit shy and not so quick to make acquaintances of women. Anyway, that same woman was at the wedding, and during the cocktail hour, that was back when I would have a few drinks. I haven't had a drink in decades, but back then I did drink, and I guess fortified by a couple of drinks, I asked this woman to dance. This was during the cocktail hour. I said, later on, would you like to dance? And she said, sure, which was very nice, and I love to dance. Anyway, I promptly forgot entirely about her. I forgot that I asked. I forgot, I was hanging out with the boys in the parking lot, doing the things that we used to do, and I just didn't think about this woman again. So at the end of the evening, as the last dances were occurring, I was accosted by this woman who marched up to me, and she kind of shook her finger at me and said, "You promised me a dance." And I said, "Oh, yeah." And we danced. Well, while we were dancing, I happened to notice that she had this locket on. And I said, "What a pretty locket." It was a gold heart. And I said, "Where did you get it?" And she said, "I got it from my grandmother." Well, I started talking about my grandmother. My grandmother was the love of my life. I adored my grandmother, and she adored all of her grandchildren, including me. And so I was talking about my grandmother, and this woman, who was Ellen, who's now my wife, she liked that. I think she was impressed that I was talking about my grandmother in such a way. And she asked me my name, and I said, "My name is David Feldman." She said, "Oh, well, do you have a nickname?" And I said, "Yes, my nickname is Face," which is what everybody called me, Face, back then. And she said, "Oh, Face, I've heard about Face." And I said, at that time I was working for graphics companies that served ad agencies in Manhattan. And I said, "Yeah," and I lived on Long Island, in Long Beach, and she lived in New Jersey in she was going to Rutgers, so she was in the Rutgers area, which is sort of Central Jersey. And I said, do you ever come to the city? And she said, no, but I would if I had a reason. And that went right over my head. And I said, oh, what a shame. And I didn't ask her out for a few weeks. Eventually I did. I asked her out, and we went out in the city. We went to the Museum of Modern Art, I think, or the Met, one of those. I think the Museum of Modern Art. And there was a long line for tickets. Well, I went early and I bought tickets, and I told the doorman that I was going to be coming in with a date, and I wanted to make sure I'd be allowed in. So she showed up, Ellen showed up, and there was this long line, and I said, no, that line's not for us. We're going to go right in. And I took her in. I had the tickets. I said hi to the doorman. He opened the door, and she was very impressed. Later on, we went to dinner in the Village, and she needed to use a bathroom, and I found her a bathroom in a restaurant, and I which to me is just the obvious thing to do, but she was impressed by that too, because I was a gentleman. In fact, several weeks later, she came to stay for the weekend, and she said at one point, I'm going to slip into something more comfortable. And I thought, well, that's great. And she came out of the bathroom wearing sweats and basically said, you take the couch. Well, I did take the couch once. Sometime later, I got very sick. I had the flu. And she came out from New Jersey, and she made homemade chicken soup. I think she made the chicken soup in New Jersey. She cooked the chicken, and she made soup from the chicken, and she brought the soup to me on Long Island, and she gave me this soup when I was sick. And that's when I decided to ask her to marry me. And the way I asked her to marry me was, I said, if it's not, it was a few weeks later, I said, if it's nice, if it's not a beach day, I lived a block from the beach, and so we went to the beach a lot. And I said to her one day, if it's not nice tomorrow, if it's not a beach day, how about we go to the Diamond District? And that's how I asked her to marry me. And we did go to the Diamond District. And eventually I did the thing where I got down on one knee. And here we are. As I speak now, we've been married for 36 years. We've been together for 38 years. This will be 38 years we're together. And what a wonderful life we have together.